Christmas morning at the Anderson family home had always followed the same tradition. Everyone gathered around the massive tree in the living room at exactly 9 a.m., coffee and pastries ready, cameras capturing every moment. This year felt different, though I couldn't quite put my finger on why. My sister Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by perfectly wrapped packages in elegant silver and gold paper. My brother Michael had a similar pile beside him, each gift clearly expensive based on the size and weight. Mom had her usual collection of jewelry boxes and designer shopping bags. I sat in the corner armchair with my coffee, watching my family dive into their presents with obvious excitement. In front of me was nothing. Emma, open the Tiffany box first. Mom urged, her phone already recording. Michael got it for you. Emma tore off the wrapping to reveal a stunning tennis bracelet. Michael, this is gorgeous. It must have cost a fortune. Michael grinned. Only the best for my baby sister. I saw you looking at it when we were shopping last month. My turn, Michael announced, reaching for a large rectangular package. Inside was the latest MacBook Pro, still in its original packaging. Dad, this is exactly what I needed for the business. Dad beamed with pride. I know you've been working so hard on your startup. Figured you could use an upgrade. The gift exchange continued for another 30 minutes. Designer handbags, luxury watches, high-end electronics, jewelry, gift cards to expensive restaurants. Each present was opened with squeals of delight and grateful hugs. I sipped my coffee and watched, feeling like an observer rather than a participant. Mom opened her final gift, a spa weekend package at an exclusive resort 2 hours away. This is wonderful. David, you really shouldn't have. Dad shrugged modestly. You've been working so hard lately. You deserve some relaxation. Emma was now wearing her new bracelet, testing her new noise-canceling headphones, and scrolling through her new iPad. Michael was already setting up his MacBook, downloading software for his marketing consultancy. Well, Dad said, looking around the room with satisfaction, I think that's everything. Everyone looked happy, satisfied, surrounded by expensive gifts and torn wrapping paper. The room felt warm and festive, filled with the contentment that comes from generous gift-giving. Wait, Emma said suddenly, looking around the room. What about Lily? All eyes turned to me. I looked back at them calmly, still holding my coffee mug. What about me? I asked. Dad's expression shifted slightly, as if he'd just remembered something uncomfortable. Oh, right. Well, Lily. He trailed off, clearly searching for the right words. Sorry, honey, Santa skipped you this year, he finally said with a forced laugh. Maybe next year you'll make the nice list. The joke fell flat. Emma and Michael exchanged glances. Mom suddenly found her spa brochure very interesting. I set down my coffee mug and reached for my laptop bag. That's interesting, Dad. What's interesting? He asked, his tone becoming defensive. I calmly opened my laptop and turned the screen around toward the family. Interesting because Santa's been using my black card all month. They froze when they saw the receipts displayed on my screen. The spreadsheet was organized by date and merchant, with neat columns showing purchase amounts, card numbers and transaction details. Every gift that had been opened this morning was listed there, along with dozens of other purchases from the past month. December 3rd. Tiffany & Company, $2,847.50. Card ending in 4892. December 8th. Apple Store $3,299. Card ending in 4892. December 12th. Coach Boutique, $1,650. Card ending in 4892. December 15th. Rolex Authorized Dealer, $8,950. Card ending in 4892. December 18th. Nordstrom, $2,340. Card ending in 4892. December 20th. Luxury Spa Resort, $1,200. Card ending in 4892. The list went on and on. Every purchase, every gift, every Christmas surprise that had been opened this morning was right there in black and white. Card ending in 4892, I said quietly, pulling the actual credit card from my wallet and showing them the last 4 digits. That's my American Express black card. The silence in the room was absolute. Emma's mouth was hanging open. Michael had stopped typing on his new laptop. Mom was staring at the screen like she was trying to solve a complex puzzle. Lily, Dad said slowly, I think there's been some kind of mistake. What kind of mistake? I asked, genuinely curious. Well, obviously these charges aren't really from your card. There must be some mix-up with the credit card company. I scrolled down to show more transactions. December 21st. Morton's Steakhouse, $387. That was your business dinner with the Peterson account, wasn't it, Dad? December 19th. Shell Station, $76. Michael's gas for his road trip to see Julie. December 16th. Target, $234. Emma's dorm room supplies for next semester. Each item I mentioned was met with recognition from the family members involved. These weren't random transactions. They were specific personal purchases that only they would have made. How? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. How is this possible? I closed the laptop and set it aside. Because I've been paying for everything for the past 3 years. Everything? Emma asked. Everything. Your tuition, Emma. Michael's business startup costs. Dad's car payments. Mom's credit card bills. The mortgage on this house. Utilities, insurance, groceries, vacations. Everything. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Michael found his voice first. Lily, that's impossible. You work at a nonprofit. You make like $30,000 a year. I made $30,000 a year, I corrected. When I worked at the nonprofit. That was 4 years ago. But you still work there, Emma protested. You talk about the office all the time. I talk about my office all the time, I clarified. Not the nonprofit office. Dad leaned forward. Lily, what exactly do you do for work now? It was a question I'd been waiting for someone to ask for 3 years. I run a financial consulting firm, I said simply. We specialize in investment strategies for high-net-worth individuals and small institutions. A consulting firm? Mom repeated. Patterson Financial Group. I founded it 4 years ago, right after I left the nonprofit. I pulled out my phone and showed them the company website. Professional headshots, client testimonials, service descriptions, and at the top of the About page, founded by Lily Patterson, CFA. Emma squinted at the screen. CFA. Chartered Financial Analyst. I got the certification 2 years ago. Michael was reading over Emma's shoulder. This says Patterson Financial Group manages over $40 million in client assets. $43 million as of last quarter, I corrected. The number seemed to hit them like a physical blow. $43 million? Dad's voice cracked slightly. In client assets, yes. Our fee structure is typically 1.5% annually, plus performance bonuses for returns above market benchmarks. Emma was doing math in her head. 1.5% of $43 million is about $645,000 in base fees annually, I finished. Plus performance bonuses, which last year added another $200,000. You made $800,000 last year? Mom whispered. Approximately, yes. Though it varies based on market performance and new client acquisitions. The silence that followed was even more complete than before. Michael stared at his new MacBook. Lily, if you make that kind of money, why do you dress so normally? I looked down at my outfit, jeans, a simple sweater, comfortable flats. How should someone who makes good money dress? I don't know. Designer clothes? Fancy jewelry? A luxury car? I have those things when I need them for client meetings, I said. But I don't need them for Christmas morning with my family. Emma was still staring at the credit card statements on my laptop screen. Lily, you paid for all our Christmas presents? I've been paying for all your expenses for 3 years, I reminded her. Christmas presents are just one line item. But why? Dad asked. Why didn't you tell us you were successful? Why let us think you were struggling? It was a fair question and one I'd been thinking about for months. When did any of you ask about my work? I replied. When did anyone show interest in what I was doing or how my business was going? They looked at each other uncomfortably. We thought you were happy at the nonprofit, Mom said weakly. I left the nonprofit 4 years ago. I've mentioned Patterson Financial Group in probably 50 conversations since then. You have. Emma looked confused. Last month, when you were worried about paying for spring semester, I suggested you let me help you understand investment basics so you could start building wealth for yourself. You said you weren't interested in boring money stuff. Emma's face reddened. 2 months ago, when Michael was stressed about getting funding for his startup, I offered to review his business plan and connect him with potential investors. He said he wanted to do it himself. Michael shifted uncomfortably. 6 months ago, when Dad was complaining about his retirement savings, I offered to do a free portfolio analysis and suggest some strategies. He said he didn't trust young people with serious financial planning. Dad winced. So I stopped offering, I continued. I just started quietly paying for things instead. Mom leaned forward. Sweetheart, we had no idea you were trying to help professionally. We thought you were just offering to help as family. What's the difference? Well, Mom struggled to find the words. We didn't realize you had actual expertise. Why would you assume I didn't have expertise? It was a question that cut to the heart of the family dynamics that had been building for years. Because you never acted like you were successful, Michael said. You drive a Toyota. You live in a small apartment. You never talk about money or investments or business deals. You never asked about my business deals, I pointed out. And I drive a Toyota because it's reliable and efficient. I live in a small apartment because I travel frequently for work and don't need much space. Emma was scrolling through more of the credit card statements. Lily, you've been paying for everything. Our tuition, the house payments, groceries, utilities, our car insurance. Plus vacations, medical bills, home repairs, and about a dozen other categories of expenses, I added. How much? Dad asked quietly. How much have you spent on us over the past 3 years? I pulled up another spreadsheet on my phone. $237,000. The number hung in the air like smoke. 237,000, Mom repeated slowly. That's not including this year's expenses, which will probably add another 80,000. Michael looked sick. Lily, that's more than I'll probably make in 5 years. It's about 4 months of my income, I said gently. It's not a financial hardship for me. But why? Emma asked, tears starting to form in her eyes. Why would you spend that much money on us without telling us? I thought about how to answer that. Because I love you. Because family takes care of family. Because I could afford to help and you needed help. But we didn't ask for help, Dad protested. You didn't need to ask. When Emma was stressed about tuition, I paid it. When Michael needed equipment for his business, I bought it. When you and Mom were worried about the mortgage, I took care of it. Without telling us, Mom said. Without making you feel bad about needing help, I corrected. The distinction seemed to land with each of them differently. Emma wiped her eyes. So when I called you crying about not being able to afford textbooks, I had already transferred money to your account before you hung up the phone. And when my laptop died right before the Peterson presentation? Michael asked. I ordered your replacement that same night. And when we thought we might lose the house last year? Dad's voice was very quiet. I paid off the entire mortgage. You own this house free and clear. The silence that followed was the deepest yet. Mom stood up slowly and walked to the window, staring out at the backyard where we'd played as children. Lily, she said without turning around, I feel like we don't know you at all. You know me, I said. You just didn't know about my work. But your work is such a huge part of who you are. You're helping people manage millions of dollars. You're running your own company. You're incredibly successful. And you've been supporting us financially for years, Dad added. Like we were your dependents. The word, dependence, seemed to surprise him as he said it. I prefer to think of it as family supporting family, I said. Emma was still looking at the credit card statements. Lily, last month you spent more on my sorority fees than I spent on everything else combined. The sorority fees were $400, I pointed out. But you didn't tell me you were paying for them. Because then you would have felt guilty about participating in something that was important to you. Michael closed his new laptop. Lily, I feel terrible about this. About what? About taking your money without knowing it was your money. About not asking about your business. About treating you like the family member who needed help instead of the family member who was providing help. It was a more insightful observation than I'd expected from Michael. You weren't taking my money, I said. I was giving it. There's a difference. But you gave it secretly, Dad said. Why didn't you want us to know? I considered the question carefully. Because I wanted to see if you could love and respect me without knowing about my financial success. The honesty of that statement seemed to surprise everyone, including me. What do you mean? Mom asked, turning back from the window. I mean, I wanted to know if you valued me as a person or if you only valued achievements and money. That's not fair, Emma protested. We love you no matter what. Do you? I asked gently. Because until this morning, you all seemed to think I was the family underachiever. The one who needed advice and guidance and help figuring out my life. The accusation hung in the air, but no one denied it. Last week, I continued, Dad suggested I look into getting a real job, with benefits. 2 weeks ago, Michael offered to teach me about business networking. Last month, Emma asked if I needed help managing my finances. Each example was met with uncomfortable recognition. We were trying to help, Mom said weakly. I know. But you were trying to help someone who didn't exist. The struggling version of me that you had in your heads. Dad sat down heavily in his chair. Lily, I don't know what to say. You could start by asking me about my actual life instead of the life you think I have. It was a simple request, but apparently a difficult one. Michael was the first to try. Lily, what's your business actually like? I mean, what do you do every day? I smiled at the question. The first genuine inquiry about my work that any of them had made in years. I analyze investment portfolios for clients who have substantial assets but don't have the time or expertise to manage them effectively, I explained. I research market trends, evaluate risk factors, and develop customized strategies based on each client's goals and timeline. What kind of clients? Emma asked. Retired executives, business owners, people who inherited wealth, some small foundations and trust. Anyone with enough assets to benefit from professional management but not enough to attract the big investment firms. How many clients do you have? Dad asked. 23 active clients currently. I deliberately keep the client base small so I can provide personalized attention. Mom sat back down. And you started this business yourself? 4 years ago, yes. I started with 3 clients and about 8 million in assets. Word of mouth has been my primary growth strategy. What's the most someone has trusted you to manage? Michael asked. My largest client has a portfolio worth about $12 million. Emma made a soft whistling sound. Someone trusted you with $12 million? Several someones actually. My average client portfolio is about 1.8 million. Dad was doing math in his head. 23 clients, averaging 1.8 million each. Is about 41 million total, I confirmed. Though it fluctuates based on market performance and contributions. And people pay you to manage their money? Mom asked. They pay me to make their money grow while managing risk appropriately, I corrected. Last year, my clients' portfolios averaged 11.3% returns when the overall market returned 7.2%. Michael leaned forward. You beat the market by 4 percentage points? Consistently, yes. That's why clients pay premium fees and why I have a waiting list. A waiting list? Emma asked. I could probably double my client base. But I don't want to sacrifice the personal attention that makes my service valuable. Dad looked around the room at all the expensive gifts, then back at me. Lily, you've been incredibly generous with us. But I need to ask, have we been taking advantage of you? It was a question I'd been wondering about myself. Not intentionally, I said. But I think you stopped seeing me as an independent adult and started seeing me as someone who needed your guidance and support. While you were actually providing our support, Mom said quietly. Financial support, yes. Though I was hoping for some emotional support too. What do you mean? I mean, it would have been nice if someone had asked about my business goals, or celebrated my successes, or shown interest in what I was building. The criticism was gentle, but it clearly hit home. Emma wiped her eyes again. Lily, I'm really sorry. I had no idea you were. I mean, I didn't realize you were so successful. I'm not sorry about being successful, I said. I'm sorry that you didn't feel like you could share it with us. It was Mom who said it, and it was exactly the right thing to say. I wanted to share it, I admitted. But every time I tried to talk about work, someone would change the subject or offer advice that made it clear you weren't really listening. Michael nodded slowly. Like when you mentioned getting the CFA certification and I said, that's nice, and immediately started talking about my own stuff. Or when you said you were traveling for client meetings and I assumed you meant job interviews. Dad added. Or when you mentioned Patterson Financial Group and I thought you meant you were working for someone named Patterson, Emma said. I had to laugh at that one. Patterson is my middle name. Lily Patterson Anderson. You named your company after yourself, Mom said with what sounded like pride. I did. That's wonderful, sweetheart. The conversation continued for another hour. For the first time in years, my family asked genuine questions about my work, my clients, my business goals, and my plans for the future. They wanted to understand what I'd built and how I'd built it. Michael was particularly interested in the business development side. How I'd found clients, built a reputation, and scaled the operation. Emma asked thoughtful questions about financial planning and investing, suddenly interested in the boring money stuff she'd dismissed months earlier. Dad wanted to know about the technical aspects of portfolio management and market analysis. Mom was curious about the personal relationships with clients and the responsibility of managing other people's life savings. Lily, Dad said as we finally started cleaning up the wrapping paper, I owe you an apology. We all do. You don't owe me anything, I said. We owe you recognition, he corrected. We owe you respect. We owe you genuine interest in your accomplishments. And we owe you honesty, Emma added. About how wrong we were about your life. Michael was folding his new laptop box. Lily, can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you still helping us financially? I mean, now that we know you're successful, shouldn't we be figuring out how to support ourselves? It was a mature question, and one that showed he was thinking seriously about the family dynamics we'd discussed. That's up to you, I said. I'm happy to continue helping, but I'd also be happy to help you build your own financial independence. What do you mean? I mean, I could teach you about investment strategies, business planning, and wealth building. Instead of just giving you money, I could help you create your own success. Michael's eyes lit up. You'd do that? I'd love to. All of you if you're interested. Emma raised her hand. I'm interested. I want to learn about investing and financial planning. Me too, Dad said. I think I could learn a lot from you. Mom smiled. I'd like to understand your business better. Maybe I could even help somehow. I looked around at my family, the people I loved most in the world who were finally ready to see me clearly and support my success instead of assuming I needed their guidance. Then let's start with a family financial planning session next week, I said. I'll show you how to build wealth instead of just spending it. And Lily? Emma said as we finished cleaning up. Yes. Next Christmas we're buying our own gifts. I laughed. Deal. But I'm still paying for the family vacation to Europe next summer. Family vacation to Europe? Dad's eyebrows shot up. Didn't I mention that? I booked us 2 weeks in Italy for July. Consider it a late Christmas present. The expressions on their faces were worth every dollar I'd spent and every secret I'd kept. Sometimes the best gifts are the ones that help people see themselves, and each other, more clearly. And sometimes the best Christmas surprise is finally being able to share your success with the people who matter most.